Hey, good afternoon, everyone. It's Matt Donahue with Mission Financial Planners. It is Monday, June 3rd, and this is your weekly market update. So let's jump into what happened in the markets and the economy last week. So last week we saw some stocks retreat. All major indices declined anywhere between half and 1%. S&P and Nasdaq both snapped a string of five consecutive weekly gains that had lifted them to record highs. The Dow posted its second negative week in a row. Inflation was sideways, so it's still above the Fed's preferred 2% long-term target rate. Personal consumption expenditures price index rose at a 2.7% annual rate in April, which was the same as March. So excluding food and energy prices, the rate has been stuck at 2.8% for 3 months in a row now. May flowers. Well, the S&P 500, in spite of last week, did climb nearly 5% in May, rebounded from an April decline and posted its sixth positive month out of the past seven. NASDAQ led with a gain of almost 7%. Dow added more than 2%. It did reach it. The Dow did reach 40,000 for the first time ever on May 17th. It's just below that in today's market. GDP downgrade. First quarter U.S. economic growth wasn't as strong as initially estimated. It was revised down to 1.3% from an initial estimate of 1.6. It was well below the 3.4% we saw in the fourth quarter of last year. So hopefully the Fed's going to look at that and say, hey, the economy is maybe slowing down a little bit. Inside Q1 earnings, while communication services had the strongest earnings growth at the sector level, they saw a 34% increase relative to the previous year's first quarter. The earnings laggard was healthcare, which saw a 25% decline. Across all five S&P 500 sectors, the average earnings growth was 6%. Yield volatility. 10-year treasuries traded in a wide range during the week. The yield of the 10-year at one point was at 4.64%, which was the highest level in 4 weeks. But as of Friday's close, it was down to 4.49%. So up modestly from 4.47% at the end of the previous week. What about small caps? We spend so much time talking about the S&P 500, it's easy to forget about small cap stocks. One index of small cap stocks was flat, while a large cap benchmark slipped, slightly narrowing large caps year-to-date margin of outperformance. Small cap index was essentially unchanged for the week versus a 0.6% decline for the large cap benchmarks. Jobs ahead. Okay, the market's going to be watching this pretty closely. We have a bunch of jobs reports coming out this week. The monthly labor market report is due out on Friday, and it'll show whether the recent trend of moderating jobs growth extended into May. In April, the economy generated 175,000 jobs. It generated 315,000 in March. The unemployment rate rose slightly to 3.9%, and wage growth slowed as well. Reports coming out this week. So today we're going to see the index for supply management's manufacturing index, construction spending from the U.S. Census Bureau. Tuesday is going to be job openings and labor turnover survey from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, and then factory orders from the Census Bureau. Wednesday, bunch of stuff Wednesday. ADP National Employment Report, Institute for Supply Management's non-manufacturing index, productivity and labor costs, and the trade balance is coming out. Thursday, unemployment, and then Friday, jobs and unemployment, consumer credit, and wholesale inventory. So as you can see, a lot of jobs related pieces this week. Philosophy quote of the week comes from Seneca, and it's all about being flexible because, as we all know, we don't always get what we want. There's that Rolling Stone song, right? You don't always get what you want, but hopefully you're going to get what you need. So Seneca's quote, hey, if you can't serve in the military, seek public office. If you have to live in the private sector, be a spokesperson. If you're condemned to silence, hey, help your fellow citizens by being a silent public witness. Is it dangerous to enter the forum? Ooh, it sounds like things got a little crazy back in the Roman Empire. Is it dangerous to enter the forum? Let him display himself in private homes, at public events and gatherings as a good associate, faithful friend, and moderate table mate. Has he lost the duties of a citizen? Let him exercise those of a human being. And it does come back to what I said in the beginning of that, which is essentially, you know what, sometimes you do have to take what you can get. It's not what any of us were raised to think, but as we all know in life, sometimes you don't always get what you want. Some tax tips. Okay, this week is interesting because it's focused on high school students, college students, graduates, and taxes. So a lot of people graduating from high school and college this time of year, starting their summer jobs, things like that. So I'm going to focus a little bit on just some of the things that a student needs to think about when they take a summer job. First thing is, don't forget or don't be surprised that about a third of your check is going to go to taxes. Withholding always occurs. And then as a new employee, you always have to fill out a W-4, which is your withholding amount. Um, all tip income is taxable. Now, this is something I didn't know before I typed this up. You must report $20 or more in cash tips in any 1 month to your employer, and you have to report all your yearly tips on your tax return. Money you earn doing work for others is taxable. Some work you may count as self-employment. So this could be things like babysitting and lawn mowing. But just keep good records of expenses. You could deduct those costs from your income and on your tax return. For those of you who are in ROTC, your active duty pay is taxable. The subsistence allowance you get in advanced training is not taxable. And hey, you might not earn enough money in your summer job to owe income tax, but your employer will still withhold Social Security and Medicare taxes from your pay. If you're self-employed, keep in mind you might have to pay them both yourself. If you're a newspaper carrier or distributor, I'm not sure how many people are still do jobs like that. Special rules apply. If you meet certain conditions, you're considered self-employed. If you don't meet those conditions and are under 18, you're usually exempt from Social Security and Medicare taxes. You may not earn enough money from your summer job to be required to file a tax return. Even if that's true, you may still want to file. For example, if your employer withheld income from your pay, you have to file a return to get a refund, right? So it probably makes sense to file in a lot of cases. A couple tips for graduates. Okay, student loan interest. You get an above the line deduction for up to $2,500 depending on income levels. If you're not sure what above the line, below the line means, above the line is usually more impactful for you. Student loan repayments, you can repay up to $10,000 in student loans and interest from distributions of a 529 plan, and you can do that tax-free. You can get a tax deduction or tax credit for tuition and fees depending on the type of education and tax deduction you take. Lifetime learning credit is available on up to a limit, so based on your adjusted gross income. For education that leads to a college degree or vocational diploma. It doesn't matter how old you are or how many degrees you already have. And withholding, be sure when you start a new job, fill out the W-4 so this can help manage your tax bill. And then, of course, retirement savings contribution credit. Hey, even if you open an IRA, you can still get a tax credit for up to $2,000 if you did that within the last 2 years. So a lot of this stuff, guys, is based on earned income. So you have to be above or below certain thresholds to qualify for some of this stuff. Always check. In your first year out of college, for those of you who are looking at that, your parents will typically claim you as a dependent. Talk to them though. Make sure that if they aren't, hey, go ahead and file, take those deductions and credits. But if they are filing and claiming you as a dependent and you file to try to take those, hey, the IRS doesn't let that happen, right? So you can't double dip on that. Health tip of the week. So this month is brain awareness and Alzheimer's awareness and brain health month. So we're going to focus on that for this month. The health tip of the week isn't really a tip. It's more of a headline. The Mayo Clinic has a tool that helps link Alzheimer's disease types to the rate of cognitive decline. So it's a really interesting article. Basically, what the tool does is it assigns a score to the location of the damaged cells in the brain that are associated with Alzheimer's. So in the study, the differences where those damaged cells accumulate affects the disease progression. So then they can break it down from there and figure out, hey, demographic, clinical, gender, age at onset, rate of cognitive decline. They 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 can track all that and they can kind of start to tell you what to expect on a much better, much more accurately. So this was a group of people that they had 1,400 patients with Alzheimer's disease who donated brain tissue between 1991 and 2020. So really interesting stuff. If you know someone who's dealing with this or you're helping someone deal with this, hopefully it provides a little bit of comfort for you knowing that you're there's people out there working hard on this to try to help make it better. But check it out on our website. Go to the Mayo Clinic, go to their website, check it out there. But you'll see this in our blog. Otherwise, folks, thank you so much for joining us this week and have an awesome first week of unofficial summer. And we'll see you all next week. Thanks again. Bye-bye.